Welcome to Windows on the World, bringing you cutting-edge news, empowering information, and no conspiracy theories. On tonight's show, Dr. Samir Asmanagic, welcome to Windows on the World.
All right, thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, we've spoken previously about your project, which is the Bosnian pyramids. Could you just give a little bit of a background for those who may not have heard about this project?
For the last 10 years, I have been running the most active archaeological site in the world, the Bosnian Pyramid Project. In the heart of Bosnia, just 20 miles northwest from the capital city of Sarajevo, there is a complex of 5 pyramids, which I discovered 10 years ago in 2005 and named them the Bosnian Pyramids of the Sun, Moon, Dragon, Earth, Love, and below the Pyramid Valley is a huge network of underground tunnels from prehistorical times. The whole complex is named the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids. In the last 10 years, more than 2,000 volunteers from 62 countries and 6 continents came to work with us. It is unheard of in the world of archaeology, which is very conservative science. In our case, no secrets, no elite science, all the information and knowledge becomes public immediately. So far, we got 7 elements that forever change our view of the ancient history. Number 1, the first pyramids in Europe. Number 2, the biggest on the planet. Number 3, the best quality concrete that covers the pyramid on the planet. Number 4, the orientation of the sides towards the cardinal points, east, west, north, south, the most precise on the planet. Number 6, the oldest pyramids on the planet, 34,000 years. And number 7, under the Valley of Pyramids, huge, the most extensive prehistorical tunnel network. So those facts forever changed what we knew about the ancient history, and for our future, we have concluded, after a series of measurements, using the knowledge from the physicists, electrical engineers, and sound engineers, that the pyramid complex actually acts as a huge energy amplifier, generating electromagnetic fields, the Schumann resonance, the original one, the best energy field for our body, the ultrasound of the levitation frequency, 28 kilohertz, and finally, a very high concentration of negative ions that clean our bodies from viruses and bacteria, meaning the pyramid complex has also a healing aspect.
This is something I've covered on the show in quite some depth, especially the energy side of it. But today we're going to talk about these new findings. These ancient tunnels which surround this pyramid complex are very extensive, and you've recently uncovered some more. Can you tell us what you found?
For the last 25 years, I've been researching the pyramids all over the planet. The oldest, the biggest, and the most superior pyramids always have underground tunnels. Under Giza pyramids, Cheops, Khafre, and Mycerian series of tunnels connecting the pyramids, the Sphinx, River Nile. Under China pyramids in the Shanxi province, also the tunnels. Teotihuacan, Mexico, the Mayan pyramids in Palenque. In 2005, when I saw the first pyramids, I said it has to be an underground tunnel network, and I wrote that in my book. Everybody attacked me at that time. Professors, archaeologists, geologists, historians. Well, 10 years after, they know that I was right, because a huge network, and so far we have cleared and secured over 1,550 meters of those tunnels. Now we can see two civilizations in there. The first one who made those tunnels, the second one who, for some reason, sealed them off. They fill them with the materials, the filling material. So what we do in the last 10 years, we've been clearing the tunnels that take us from the entrance to the pyramid, actually under the pyramid. It's very long way, 2.5 kilometers. So far, we cleared 1.5 kilometers. So we are getting there slowly, but we are getting there. Just last month, we have discovered that under the filling material, there was an open section of tunnels, 127 meters, with 9 sealed tunnels. Now, when we got there, I formed a team of archaeologists, geologists, videographers, engineers. We got inside with all the equipment, compasses, the batteries, and so on. And imagine the feeling when you are getting into the tunnels where human foot has not been for thousands of years. We got in these pristine condition tunnels. We were able to see how they made them with a half radius ceiling, how they made those dry walls in order to seal those tunnels, and the crystal clear water. And at the end of the tunnel, which was by the way blocked, we discovered an organic material, a couple of pieces of wood, which we are going to date. We are going to send them to the radiocarbon dating lab. So excitements. Imagine in 21st centuries, we are discovering stuff that had been lost, forgotten.
This is absolutely fascinating, Sam, because our European history, along with world history, as you know, has been really covered up, and we have to use these examples to try and uncover what is really our past. So as far as the age of these tunnels go, what sort of age are they, do you know?
Now, in the last 9 years, we have retrieved 9 pieces of organic materials, and radiocarbon dating confirmed that they belong to age from 21,000 to 34,000 years before peasants. 34,000 years. Now, as we know, the only cultural oases in Europe at that time were Basques in Spain and southern France. As a matter of fact, the famous paintings in the cave Lascaux are exactly 34,000 years old. At that time, everything north from Austria was covered by ice. It was ice age. No Germany, no France, no Scandinavia, no Poland. But everything in southern Europe, Spain, southern Italy, Croatia, Bosnia, Albania, Greece, Turkey, there were humans and there were advanced civilizations. So now we are finding proofs of those civilizations in the form of huge structures, the pyramids, excellent quality concrete, tumulus, underground tunnel network. Why they built such extensive tunnel network remains to be seen, but we know one thing. Our goal is to get under the pyramid. So far, we have discovered 6 chambers from 30 to 50 square meters, and we concluded that the concentration of negative ions is the highest there. They were like healing chambers where the energy was just right for healing process, but most probably also for the spiritual process to improve spiritual senses. The humans of the past lived in harmony with Mother Nature, unlike us who are 100% materialistic beings.
Well, this is very interesting because it does go into this theory of this golden age, but having looked into that in different parts of the world, there do appear to be certain civilizations that were very advanced, often without a written record. They were an oral culture. Could this be what we're talking about here?
I think that's the case. We are finding some symbols, but they are probably belonging to the more recent times. But you can see those huge structures they were able to manipulate with huge quantities of material. They knew formula how to put natural materials together. For example, the concrete on the Sun Pyramid is much better than what we can make today in 21st century. Our concretes, when it comes to hardness, are in the range from 10 to 60 megapascals, On the Sun Pyramid in Bosnia, concrete is 134 megapascals. Better quality concrete than what we can make today. These are amazing facts. But you can also see that when it comes to the pyramid world, that the first pyramids in China, Egypt, Bosnia, Mexico are at the same time the biggest and the most superior. What they teach us in schools is evolutionary theory. 10,000 years ago we were primitive cavemen, today we are the most advanced, most technologically progressed, but we are not. It's cycle after cycle after cycle in a humanity. There were cycles before where intelligent beings were much more advanced. They knew how to move stuff without using cranes or forklifts. Probably they found a way how to neutralize gravitational force, and that's the problem with the big mass. Neutralize gravitational force, you'll be able to move 100-ton block with your fingers. So it's just a matter of thinking out of the box, and that's why we need to explore and investigate the past so we can get the knowledge that can benefit present and future of humanity.
Well, I agree with that, and I think the whole evolution idea is just for simple minds. It makes the recent historical record make us look as though we're advanced. And I think the problem that we've got is we have all of these academics now who are relying on this, and to step outside that means they've got to rewrite the history books and they're going to lose their job. So we do have that problem. But when we go further back, the building and construction of these ancient sites gets better, and that is something they can't argue with.
Exactly right. You go to eastern Lebanon, Baalbek, you are finding stone blocks of 1,250 tons. Now, our technology until 15 years ago had limits of 350 tons. So they had 4 times heavier capabilities to move the stuff and to manipulate with them. So if you want to find the proofs of more advanced civilizations, and we can call them Atlantis, Lemuria, Madeleine Mu, Og, or whatever, but we do not need to go metaphysical, because the proofs are in the physical world. In eastern Turkey, Göbekli Tepe, when I talked to Dr. Klaus Schmidt a year and a half ago before he died, he told me not only that the age is 11,600 years for those huge circles with the stone blocks in the shape of letter T, hundreds and hundreds of them. He said there are not only 3 circles, but probably dozens of them. And it's not 11,600, but probably 15 to 18,000 years. Unfortunately, the guy, died, so we are not able to complete his work. But there are places like this. Mexico, Teotihuacan, the city of pyramids, they are telling us it was built by Teotihuacanos. They made up the name for the culture, and we know that the name Teotihuacan is coming from Aztecs from 13th century. They came there thousands of years after the city was abandoned. So we don't know what official scientists do. They conveniently place those cultures where they think they should belong, and they are so wrong. The first pyramids in Teotihuacan, 12,000 plus years old. So we need to redefine what we have in our history books, and for that we need open-minded people. Unfortunately, everything we have in our educational system, in our media, is to keep people programmed so they can manipulate and control them.
Well, that's exactly right, and I think it ties in a lot with this buried history, especially of Europe and especially Eastern Europe.
What the historians and archaeologists have done, they have a history which is written, and in most cases it's simply falsified history. Almost everything they teach us about ancient history, pyramids and man, is wrong. Now, if you want to change that, their PhDs are not good anymore, professorships are not good anymore, the way they teach our kids is not good anymore. But not only that, once you change that, you show that history can be changed, then you can have different futures, not controlled futures by elite. Because who writes history? Elites, the the way they want. By writing the history, they control the present. Now, imagine that the Eastern Europe and Southeastern Europe all of a sudden are becoming the places where the civilizations originated. It's so different than what they were telling us. For example, anthropological genetics, DNA testing. In 1990s, a number of independent institutes were working on DNA testing. And we know from those times that in Europe, three oldest cultural oases, Basques in Spain, Balkan, 38,000 years, and Ukraine, 28,000 years. But more recently, when National Geographic and Oxford and some other institutions took over DNA and genetics, all of a sudden they moved all these dates to less than 12,000 years. So they simply control those stuff. The next thing, we know that the same haplogroup was in the case of Basques in Europe, Berbers, Africa, some tribes in Amazon, and Mayas in Mesoamerica. So we have four continents. What's missing? The center. And the center is, of course, in the center of the Atlantic Ocean, the place where these genes are started moving, where the people started moving on different continents. And that would be another proof for existence of the lost land of Atlantis. So those elites, they don't want that. In another example, we are finding the same haplogroup in India and Ecuador. So it's another proof that there was direct connection between Asia and South America. Not Bering Strait, like they were telling us 12,000 years ago, the primitive caveman went to North America, then going down. No. Here we have connection thousands of years back. So, what they do, they eliminate independent institutions, independent researchers, they take over and they serve us the history that we now know as independent researchers is wrong and falsified. And finally, pyramids, everybody knows that by now, they were not tombs for pharaohs. You don't find mummies in the pyramids. Cheops, Khafre, Mesene, Djoser, Sneferu, no mummies. The pharaohs were buried in the Valley of Kings, 300 kilometers to the south from Giza. And pyramids are much older than the end of the last ice age. So what we do know, we need the real truth. And if all these pyramids are the most superior, it means that the knowledge about them has been brought. Who did bring that knowledge and from where? That's a question that we need to answer.
Well, that's the jigsaw puzzle we need to put together. I think we're all kind of aware that this out of Africa theory is pretty redundant now, because we seem to have these ancient civilizations springing up all over the world. And when I've looked into this, we go back to Sumeria, but Sumeria seems to take that they say, that the oldest recorded civilization, which is a very sweeping statement to make. And who were the Sumerians? Recently I've been looking at the British Edda, which is volumes of poems that were found in Iceland, but were not Icelandic. But of course Icelanders were originally people from Northern Europe, and there were people from Scotland went there, and the Britons. So what's very interesting is that Augustine Waddell published the British Edda in 1929, and that states that there's a common link between the Sumerian cylinder seals and this Hittite history and the British Edda, which goes into what we now know as these Nordic Scandinavian legends of Thor, Odin, etc. So once you start taking the lid off this stuff, it becomes a lot more complex. And what we seem to find is that this very childlike migration pattern that we're given about ancient history and Homo sapiens sapiens doesn't really add up, because You don't have to go that much under the surface of history to find this out, do you?
Exactly right. You mentioned Sumeria. They've been telling us in the last few decades that it's about 5, now they are saying 8,000 years old history. However, the list of original Sumerian kings are taking us back to 54,000 years, which is almost the same thing like the list of Egyptian rulers, Egyptian pharaohs, over 35,000 years. And of course, they are talking about the three periods, the periods of gods, semi-gods, and sons of gods. Of course, sons of gods are obviously humans. Semi-gods, probably some type of the combination between humans and visitors maybe. And then gods who had such huge powers. So now we are going back for tens of thousands of years. And when you take those tablets, clay tablets found in Sumeria and ancient Babylon, tens of thousands of those tablets, and of course Zechariah Sitchin being the most prominent guy who's been translating them. We are going back 200,000 years, and basically he's been describing the process how the human were formed to the genetical engineering. And really, when you see our race, Homo sapiens sapiens that you mentioned, you can see that until Neanderthal, all the previous species were actually animals, including Neanderthals. And now those species were perfectly accustomed living on this planet Earth. They had almost no genetical flaws because only the fittest survived. And then all of a sudden, 190,000 years ago, you got a new species, Homo sapiens sapiens, Cro-Magnons, modern humans, which is so intelligent and artistic. But on the other hand, we got 5,000 genetical flaws, like somebody mixed genetical materials from the most advanced animal species and very advanced cosmic species. So we got intelligent beings, but at the same time, we are not so accustomed living on this planet, and with those genetical flaws, we know that eventually we're gonna get cancer or TBC or Alzheimer or some other diseases. Otherwise, we would live hundreds of years. So when you go back, you are finding the proofs, the physical proofs, in the places of those important civilizations that tell us about our past, which goes much, much deeper than what they've been telling us.
Well, it certainly does, and you brought up something very interesting there. I did several interviews with the late Lloyd Pye, and that is an area of research which I'm very fascinated by, especially the idea that we've been created, and we've been created in the image of somebody who looked like us, or we looked like them. But we were given this fused chromosome, and as you say, seem to have this inbuilt clock where we age and die. But these ancient stories, these biblical stories and characters, these kings seem to live 800 to 900 years at least. So if we were genetically changed to be a kind of bright but not over intelligent slave, that really would add up with the way society's engineered and the society we're in now. And what we're talking about here, and the reason that you have resistance to what you're saying, is because of this mentality that's been inbred into us. So I find that incredibly interesting too, that we have been changed, and there are times when we can open up what is our third eye or our higher consciousness and see into maybe the future or the past. Now, clairaudience, clairvoyance, and this ability of psychic awareness, I from my studies, I'd just like to get your thoughts on this, that all of this ancient building of pyramids, this knowledge of natural energy flow, seems to be something that an advanced civilization would know about. And if we were created to be basically slaves for these watchers or gods who came to Earth, then a lot of it makes sense. But without that idea, nothing seems to make sense. Have you got any thoughts on that?
I agree with that. And then I did say that in my previous answer. Now, the interesting thing, in our case, you mentioned resistance. When I got my hypothesis in 2005, that we have not only the first pyramids in Europe and the biggest one, but the oldest one, everybody and his brother attacked me. All the cultural establishment, from little Bosnia and Croatia to Egyptian Zahi Hawass, US, European Archaeological Society, they wanted to stop the project. They wrote 2 petitions to Bosnian government asking them not to allow us to dig even before we started digging. So why would somebody care what we do in remote Bosnian hills? They were afraid, with the reason. We started the project with no government interference. I started non-profit foundation called Archaeological Park Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. So nobody really controls us. And we said it won't be only archaeological project, because what the Egyptologists do in Egypt, they do not let other scientists research those pyramids, and they could prove, geophysicists, physicists, engineers, that they were not actually the burial site, but energy machines. And exactly because of being so open, we were able to attract so many scientists, and we are proving that Bosnian pyramids, huge energy machines, energy amplifiers. Below the pyramids, we have natural resources that pyramid uses and amplifies them. So the location was so important for the ancient builders. Why location? Like you said, everything is energy. Our planet is a huge energy ball, but there are energy potent places like Bosnia, like Egypt, like Tibet, like Peru, like Mexico, and other places. And 3 most powerful geometrical shapes when it comes to the energy are the pyramid, the sphere, and conical shape. And that's why we have so many stone pyramids, tumulus, and stone balls. So the ancients were smart. They were using shapes, they were using natural materials, stones, and they were using potent locations. Once they got the energy, what they use the energy for? The same like we do today. We use it, to get the food. We use it for the communication, for the transportation. Exactly the same thing. They were using them in the past. Just one additional thing. Once you are close to Stonehenge, or Karnak in France, or Bosnian or Egyptian pyramids, with all this additional energy, you develop your spiritual senses. The ancients knew that besides 5 physical, we had 30 spiritual senses. Instead of writing stuff, they would exchange thoughts, telepathy, spiritual sense. Instead of seeing just 100 meters, they could see tens of kilometers, spiritual sense. Instead of taking the pills, pharmaceutical industry, they were healing people remotely or with the touch, spiritual sense. Instead of going on internet, checking on Wikipedia what was happening in 19th century and getting false information, they were able to travel in the past and in the future. Spiritual sense. And once the pyramid, especially the biggest one, created a very powerful energy field, they were using it for teleportation, gates. So the ancients were smart, and they were not using limited energy sources like we are today, oil and gas. They were not using dirty energy sources, coal for dirty industry, but they were using clean, unlimited energies around us.
Well, that's exactly right, and we know what the whole so-called fossil fuel thing is about. It's about creating a fear of scarcity and a controlled market. So what we have now, really, our whole worldview and what we're told is all based on deception of one kind or another. So what we're talking about is a possibility in history that there was a time when this mass deception and the this whole kind of environment we're in now, where everything we're told is basically a lie, didn't exist, and there was straightforward truth and a natural inclination to use natural energies which we've been taken away from. So really we are part of a conspiracy. A conspiracy's been played out against us, and what you're doing is in uncovering this. And I spoke to Brian Forster in Cuzco a few weeks ago, and we actually covered Baalbek because he'd recently been there, and his specialist subject, which is the Paracas people, another very advanced culture, which was an oral culture, people who seemed to be very peace-loving and disappeared, but they were very advanced in many ways. Now, as far as the people who were responsible for using this energy and this pyramid center, have you any idea where they could have come from?
What we have concluded, using a series of measurements by 5 independent scientific teams from Italy, from Bosnia, from Croatia, from Serbia, from Finland, was that through the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, there is an energy beam, electromagnetic and ultrasound in nature. The strength of the signal coming from the pyramid is getting stronger and stronger as it moves away from the pyramid. Theoretically, this energy beam, which is 4.5 meters in radius, can go through our ionosphere around the planet, go through our solar system to any other solar system in our galaxy. So theoretically, this energy beam can establish an energy bridge with some other planet. Now, once we have this energy bridge, then you can move the frequencies, and the frequencies are nothing but the information. And so in that case, the pyramid becomes very powerful communication device. And you have point A, which is in our case the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, and you have the point B, where we do not know exactly where it ends. If we have point A and B, the question is, what is at point B, and who is at point B? So it seems that in the scientific way, we are going to prove that there was an interplanetary communication over 30,000 years ago.
Well, that's very interesting, and it does tie in with a lot of the research I've done. And if anyone out there thinks this is fantastical, you've actually, as you stated, had scientists measuring these energy fields, haven't you?
Exactly. First, the physicist from Zagreb, Croatia, Slobodan Mizrak, came with the instruments, and he was going on the nearby hills, no anomalies. We are going around the Sun Pyramid, no anomaly, until we came to the very top of the Sun Pyramid, and there, in a radius of 4.5 meters, he detected and measured frequency of 28 kilohertz. And then, 3 months later, we had the electrical engineer from Serbia, Goran Marjanovic, getting the same frequency, Heikki Savolainen from Finland, Paolo De Bertolis from Italy. So in a science, when you have 4 teams getting the same results at 4 different times, it is called independent international scientific verification of the phenomenon, which phenomenon? This energy beam. So, Mother Nature does not make beams like this. You have to have a machine for that. So, we concluded that the Sun Pyramid in Bosnia is actually the oldest energy machine on the planet, which has been working continuously for 34,000 years as the first perpetual motion machine.
It's absolutely fascinating, and I know people who visited it, we've featured them on the show, and they all report that the energy field in this place is extremely powerful, very healing, and they've obviously built it in the right place. Now, if we go to a lot of these ancient sites, they're all built on these energy centres, and of course what we know is that in more recent times, what we know as the Roman Church came in and they built all their premises on top of these energy fields. In fact, if you go down to southwest England, you'll find this. You'll find these mounds with these churches on top, and these churches run through the St Michael and Mary line and down to Glastonbury, and basically they go right through the country. They cut the bottom part of the south of the island of Britain off, and you can look at those ley lines. Now, there's obviously something there that they want to shut down, or they want to use that energy, and we know that temples have this kind of frequency of around sort of 8 hertz, isn't it? And it ties in with the Schumann resonance, but we're talking about a frequency which not only can we interact with, but makes us feel more aware of a higher consciousness. So this all ties in, and really this stuff should be common sense to us, but isn't. And I think that's the problem, isn't it? That we get these debunkers in, and when the debunkers come in, they always miss the point. They're always off topic.
Exactly right. 2 things. Southern England is such a fascinating region, and you're right, so many ley lines and so many temples from the distant past. They call them pagan. And then you get the Catholic Church and other churches building their stuff there. So it was about the amplifying the energy. But energy can be used for different purposes. Energy itself is neutral. If you use it for the good stuff, it becomes positive energy, like in the distant past, those open temples. Or if you use it to gain the control, you abuse it actually, then it becomes negative energy, the plexus of power, and this is very sad. When it comes to the resonance, the Schumann resonance, 100 years ago, Nikola Tesla, he knew that everything resonates on our planet, including our planet. He thought it was about 8 hertz. Now, 50 years ago, von Schumann from Austria, he found out it's exactly 7.83 hertz. Now, we are born at this frequency, 7.83. That's our natural frequency, the best for our physical, mental, intellectual abilities. That's the best frequency for the plants and animals. But unfortunately, in the last 25 years, due to our technology, from the HARP project, computers, all these electrical grids, all utilities in our homes, a lot of bad, negative electromagnetism has been emitting to the ionosphere, and it affects the resonance of our planet. By 1994, the frequency of our planet went from 7.83 to 8.4, steadily rising every year. 2012, it was already 14.5, 2013, 15.1, last year, 16.1, and this is very bad, because the resonance of the planet has effects to our brain waves. Now, the higher that ultra-low frequency, we start feeling it as the pressure, or as we popularly call it, stress. Mark, remember, 30, 40 years ago, we were so much more relaxed, smiles on our faces. Today, for 24 hours, we feel this pressure, stress. That's because of technology. And if we think about the global catastrophe which will happen next, it will not be the World War III, it will not be so-called global warming, but it will be this our technology and this resonance that will make us all very aggressive zombies. We need to stop that. We need to go back to the old times. And now guess what? We've been measuring this ultra-low frequency in the case of Bosnian pyramids, on the pyramids, and in the tunnels. It is still 7.83. So when we have our visitors or volunteers or researchers come to those tunnels, they sit down around those big ceramic blocks, they relax, they meditate. You ask them how they feel, they will tell you light, and they will tell you we feel like we are at home. And really, they are at home, because this is the best energy field for us. The ancients knew that, and that's one of the reasons why they built pyramids.
Well, that's a great advertisement to go and see the Bosnian Pyramid Complex. So, can you just give us your website, Sam?
Yes, BosnianPyramid.org. BosnianPyramid.org. That's our official website.
And you have your own YouTube channel, Bosnian Pyramid TV, as well, don't you?
That's correct. It's on our website. There are a collection of over 100 documentaries, video clips. Some of them are made from Discovery or History Channel, but some of them are made by our volunteers. So many exciting stuff. In our case, no selective information, no control. Everybody is welcome, and that's what we want from the science in the future. Not to be elite science like last few thousand years, but it has to be knowledge that everyone will share. We need to become all open-minded people. We need to become free. Once we have free individuals, free men and women, we're going to have free societies.
I think that's a really important point there, just wrapping up, Sam, that you made about this is an independently researched project. It's not a state-controlled project. It's not controlled like the Egyptian pyramids were by the Board of Antiquities. It's basically a project run pretty much by yourself and volunteers, and I think that's incredibly important.
That's correct. It's been 10 years, a lot of obstacles. I don't want to mention them. I don't want to drag negative energy here. Just I want to say it's been blessed experience for all of us. We come, we share the knowledge, and people from all over the place, from Peru and New Zealand and Pakistan and Jordan and Norway and Austria and UK and America, they come, they work together, and they realize, yes, this is the real thing. No matter what people write, what they say about us on the internet, the best way is to come to check for, themselves, and they will find out that this is a special place.
Well, I'm going to be visiting that special place soon, Sam. I'll be over there hopefully by the end of the year, and we'll have a Windows on the World special from the Bosnian pyramids. But thanks for being on Windows on the World. It's fascinating as ever.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks for joining us on Windows on the World. Remember, keep watching those, watching us, watching Windows on the World. We'll see you soon.